Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSP Magazine. You're listening to a new Living and Breathing Technology podcast. You're about to join Amina Aggarwal as she captures and shares unedited stories of tech professionals as they reflect on the past, foresee the future, and discuss what they would like to change for a better tomorrow. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Everyone, welcome to our show Living and Breathing Technology. I'm your host Amina Aggarwal, and in this show we talk about different aspects of life, a life away from technology. Sometimes in our lives we need someone who allows us to see the hope inside ourselves. We are always looking for that one person who trusts us and helps us find a direction in life. You can call that special someone with different names: mentor, a guru, a friend, or a guide. Today, I have a very special guest who has helped many women finding their paths into cybersecurity through various mentorship programs. She's a talented leader, mom of 2 boys, homemaker, and an amazing mentor. She makes sure that she leaves no stone unturned for her mentees to help them achieve their goals. So let me introduce you to Sheetal. Sheetal, very warm welcome. And if you could please share with our listeners about your journey into tech and what do you enjoy the most, that is the life away from tech.
Hello, everyone. Hello to all the listeners. My name is Sheetal Kanade. I grew up in a big city in India. Contrary to many women in the developing countries, I grew up knowing that I was going to be part of the workforce. I never once was treated any differently than my siblings, and I got the same and probably even better access to education. So as a child, my life was full of dreams and possibilities. I got my education from some of the best schools in Mumbai, one of the oldest girls' schools in India, top engineering college in Mumbai. And that's how I landed my first job as a software engineer through college campus placements at a multinational company that was located in Cyprus. Having said all that, I failed to mention one thing, which is growing up, I really didn't want to be a software engineer. But when I told, my parents were very supportive of me and my education, as long as it is related to science or technology or math, right? So I think that's something that is a common thread across middle-class parents in India. Yeah. So, so I decided to pursue a career in engineering. Not that I regret it. It's just that I was good at it. I had the right credentials. I was able to gain the right credentials, but it didn't start out as a passion for me. Coming back to, where I started my first job in Cyprus. It is a vacation island, I would say, in Europe. So that was my first trip out of India. First time away from my family. It was scary but exciting. I got to experience different cultures in Europe, meet different people. I also met my current husband, my would-be husband at that time, now my husband. I met him in Cyprus. Shortly after, we moved to US, and I began my career in US at the East Coast, working for a company as a software engineer. Spent about 10 months there before moving back to the West Coast in the Bay Area, California. That's where I truly began my career in cybersecurity. So I started out with building software for enterprise endpoint security, moving to web application security, and currently focusing on identity and access management. In all of this, what now seems almost like a parallel universe, I had 2 beautiful kids of my own and got to experience them blossom into smart, confident kids that they are. And it wasn't always easy to maintain this parallel universes. So I'm really glad that parental leave is gaining its rightful importance in professional space, and many companies these days are offering extended leave beyond what the US state and federal laws mandate. So it was really challenging working with limited leave at that time, plus work visa, and then also raising a young family. But I had a really supportive leader. Having said that, it did slow my career for about 6 years because not that I regret. I'm really glad that I could focus more on the kids. But these days, I feel organizations are recognizing these challenges and they're supporting young parents in their career growths. And this is how I kind of found my passion in security, working through different segments of security. And as I grew in my career as a software engineer, at some point, slowly, I realized that, I would be more effective as a leader, as an enabler and a multiplier for my team. That's how I knew that, those are my core strengths that I would really like to utilize. And that's how, I started thinking about a career in people leadership in the space of cybersecurity. Although it was not very easy starting out, it did take me a long time to convince my leaders that I'm ready for the role and that you need to take a chance on me. But once I got that break, then there was no looking back for me. Currently, I'm leading some of the smartest people in the tech, and I'm absolutely loving it. While my journey as a people leader, I realized how important mentorship is, and mentorship is really close to my heart. And now that I am in a position where I can contribute back in some form or the other for the mentorship, I have definitely tried that in many ways that possible, both at workplaces, but also through nonprofit organizations that I support and I'm a part of, like OISIS. At my previous workplaces, I've started organization-wide initiatives to bring women in security together to inspire, inform, and uplift each other, or support other mentorship programs serving underrepresented communities. And just being there for someone who can help you learn as well. So mentorship is not just a one-way street. It may feel that it's just your time that you're giving away, but that's not true. You learn so much more as part of that journey than what you would potentially offer. So I really am absolutely loving my mentorship programs that I'm part of.
Oh, that's great. Well, I have a very important question for you, and coming from India, and same goes for you. You've come from India as well. So we have always been, we have always been protected by our parents. And when we move to a new country or new environment, we always have this in our mind, whether we will be able to adjust to the new environment, how will the things work, and all of that. So how was it for you when you moved to Cyprus? Was it easier for you? Was it difficult? And how did you dealt with it?
I mentioned earlier, I think, that I got this opportunity to work at Cyprus through a college campus placements. And luckily, there were 50 other people who were part of that college campus placements that we all came to Cyprus at the same time, not from just one college, but many different colleges throughout India. So in a way, I was really lucky that I was not the only one coming to a new country. I had other people who were in a similar boat. So it was a full boat rather than just one person on a boat.
Yes. And did you meet your husband there as well? Oh
I did.
wow, wow, that's so good. Did he propose to you, or did you propose to him?
Ironically, neither of us proposed to each other. We just assumed we're going to be together. So that's just like something that we talk about now. That you know what, neither of us really proposed to each other.
Yes.
But yeah, to your question about coming to Cyprus, it was a big culture difference coming from India. For me, not as much as probably for my husband or some of the people. Like I came from a big city, right? So I was exposed to a lot of television. Probably, it was just starting to emerge. The global television was starting to emerge, and so that was I had some idea, and it wasn't as much of a culture shock for me, but for some people, it was a very big culture difference. And nevertheless, just the operation, not just about the culture, right? But also you are operating as an individual. You have to pay your bills. You have to, live in a place. You have to manage a place. You have to change the gas cylinders.
Yes.
You have to do everything what you were protected from when you were a kid, or when you're growing in a family, or even in India, right? Even if you're working in India, things are a lot different. So yeah, it was a really great learning experience for me.
Oh, that's great. And I've seen that you've done amazing work with helping women, and mentoring them. And you've been a great advocate for diversity and equity in cybersecurity and leadership. And you do it all by, mentoring. And you were a part of a Vice's mentorship pilot program as well, which was from 2020 to 2021, which was also quite successful. And, I got this chance to actually meet your mentees through, you introduced me to all of them, and they had a great feedback about how you are helping them. And each of them, I was just amazed at how focused and determined they both are. So when I talk about mentorship or mentoring, I always have this questions that why, there are people who do not have mentors. So I always wanted to ask you, or maybe shed some light as to why do we need a mentor in our life? Why is it important, first of all?
What I would like to start with is just telling you a little bit about growing up, right? Growing up, I didn't have many role models, let alone women role models, right? So I definitely had my mom and my aunt that I looked up to. My mom, because she's the kindest, most dedicated human that I've ever known. And I admire my aunt's strength as she raised two kids, mostly by herself, because her husband's job kept him away from the family for months at a stretch. But those were, two incredibly powerful women in my life, and that I'm really thankful for. And powerful in their own ways, where they're not necessarily great, like coming across as very powerful in terms of like aggression, or in terms of strength. It was all mental strength that was really important to me, that they shared, that they kind of build those values in me, and I'm really thankful for that. But coming to my work, as I said, I didn't have many role models, but I found a few as I got into my work. I found a few women who were really someone that I looked up to, and they grew incredibly well in their careers, not just because of what they've brought to the table through their technical skills, but also about how they were connecting with different people, how they were interacting with people, how they had that broad mindset of absorbing the information, and all of that combined with how they were willing to help other people or other women rise to those opportunities. That was something that was really impressive about them, and that was something that left a deep impression on my mind. and one of them introduced me to Vices. Um, so once getting into Vices, it was a classic example of women supporting women, and that's what I loved about Vices. It was bringing together women and allies in cybersecurity. I'm current member of Vices, as you mentioned, right? And I participated in the pilot program for 2020 to 2021. I'm also a continuing participant of the mentorship program this year as well. But I started out with that mentorship program. I've been a speaker with the Vices conference at the Vices conference, wrote an article, why cybersecurity need more women, and presented a webinar on identity and access management. And all of these opportunities I actually got through Vices. And so this is where that how Vices as an organization helped women shine.
Yes.
And that's what I really, really appreciate. I'm really thankful for Vices about that. But coming to mentorship, I feel that it takes two to tango. It is totally on both the mentor and the mentee to build that relationship, and it is a very collaborative effort. And why it is important is because you can learn a whole lot on your own, but at some point, when you get stuck, or when you would love to hear some other perspectives to kind of broaden your horizons, you need a mentor who's been in that space for a long time, right? Yes. And that is something that a mentor brings as a value add. It's not somebody who is your teacher necessarily always, right? It is somebody who will help you put things in different perspectives, or give you pointers here or there to, okay, have you tried this, or have you tried that? Or, hey, I know about somebody else who's been in this situation. Maybe if you talk to them, you might get a better idea. So it's not just always being a teacher, it is about being there to support each other. And in the process, as I said, it is a two-way street. The mentor learns so much more from the mentee than what a mentee would necessarily learn from the mentor.
Yes.
So, like I said, it takes two to tango. So you have to meet in the middle. There is no set mold for mentorship. Each mentor has their unique mentee. Each mentor and mentee, they have their unique goals and skills that they can work through and match through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very rightly said. And I do agree that, when you are a mentor, you are not a teacher, or you are not someone who will, provide them all the resources that they want. You will tell them that this is the direction, but will let them find their way on their own. So I'm glad that I have 3 mentors that do help me out. And whenever I lose my way, whenever I want some consultation or direction in life, and I'm sure, we always look, whenever there is a stranger and we talk to a stranger and some stranger says, you're doing well, you're doing amazing, keep up the good work. Your energy builds up to 110%. You feel like you have achieved something. You're so proud of yourself. And that's what a mentor does. The mentor starts building that hope that you may have lost while all those times. And I do believe that a mentor is such an important part of anyone's life, and they can definitely help you find that right direction when you don't have one. So just reflecting on those lines, I find that I do have mentees as well. And I've seen you as a successful mentor, having a very successful relationship with the mentee. How do you set goals and objectives so that you have that successful outcome at the end of the day? You want that you both should be successful, but how do you set those strong objectives for yourself and your mentee that you are aligned with both of them? Yes.
It is very important to understand that mentorship can come in multiple forms. Sometimes it can be, constructive or clear goals, and sometimes they can be abstract goals. So it is a lot about navigating where the person is and meeting them at where they are. Sometimes, it also depends on how much time you have. So you have to be very clear of what investment you can really do in a mentee, right? And or in a program. So if certain programs, they have a very clear construct or a structure that we are going to focus on these skill set. And in those constructs, it is much easier to set goals versus some mentorship programs are very abstract. You are matched with somebody and it is about if you have to figure out between the two of you to, what kind of things that you want to work on, what are your problems that you want to focus on, or skill sets that you want to hone on. And that's where you have to be very mindful of which engagement you want to get into, but also, how you're what you're doing best for the mentee in terms of setting the goals. So if the mentee has a very clear idea of these are the particular skill sets that I want to work on, then it's very easy to kind of set up incremental goals for those. But if they are pretty abstract, or they just have a goal, like a long-term goal in mind, it becomes a little challenging. But that is where you can always apply your skills of listening really carefully to what they are trying to say, dig deeper to understand the real concern or the real skill set or lack of it, if you will, that they're looking to build. For example, it may not be very useful to guide someone on negotiation skills when they may be struggling with imposter syndrome, or if you want to have conversations on best security programs to enroll in when they may be struggling with time management, right? So sometimes it becomes those abstract problems that you need to, or other underlying problems that you first need to address and help them overcome that before actually focusing on the goals that you set out to address, right? So I think in general, it is really important to identify where they are at, meet them where they're at, and also be very mindful of the time commitment that you can do. Because if you don't have that time commitment, sometimes it can be detrimental to that program, where you may end up leaving like a wrong impression of the entire program for them.
Yes.
But you have to be very, very upfront and very forthcoming about your engagement and your availability.
Yes, no, I absolutely can resonate with that you need to have the clear vision or clear in your mind, what do you want outside of this conversation? Like, what do you want out of this conversation? Basically, if you're looking at maybe, you want to reach at some level in your career path, what is the sort of path that you would like to discuss with your mentor, so that they know what are the ideas, what are the thought process that you're thinking, and then they could help you out, or maybe try to share their experiences with you. But in saying that, I have a really tricky question, may not be tricky for you, but as a leader, do you feel that sometimes you have to switch your role as a leader to a mentor in your team?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. As a leader, when you're working with a team, as you become an enabler for the team, right? That role comes in multiple shapes and forms. So at times you would have to play the role of a mentor. At times it would be of a collaborator. At times it would be just somebody who provides an encouragement. But especially, I've had multiple opportunities where I had to play the role of a mentor to be able to guide my team members in both soft skills as well as technical skills, and finding the right pair for my team members in terms of, hey, this is a skill set that you and I can work together. For example, as a leader, if someone is looking to also get into the space of leadership, right, some of the core skills that you would need as a leader is accountability, responsibility.
Yes.
And and making people kind of understand that or express them or give opportunity to kind of shine on those skills is very critical. So how do you really identify opportunities for people to build those skills or to showcase those skills? You can do it through your through the projects. You give them the right responsibility and see how they deliver on it, and continuously mentor them. Feedback is a very critical piece of mentorship. And when I mean by feedback, it is a timely feedback. So you have to be able to give constructive feedback to the people that you're mentoring. It's not always about, you can do it or you did this great, but also about, hey, this is something that is an area of improvement, and you could have done this like in this fashion, it would have been much better. Or what are your thoughts about an alternate approach? And kind of let them think through the process and see where they could have improved themselves.
Do you think that leader is someone who knows everything, or do you find you also Google something sometimes?
I think being a leader is acknowledging that you don't know everything. Because if you think you know everything, then it's like that you're pretty much like you don't need anyone to support you. That's not true, right? You have your limited capacity of knowledge, so it is very important that you acknowledge that you don't know everything and that you need help all the time. Yes. And much more than, it's important to reach out to people that you can trust, people that you can rely on as mentors to get different opinions and get different perspectives. They can always help share their perspectives, if nothing else, right? It is not just about teaching someone. So as a person, and I've been looking up to a lot of mentors, in my previous workplace or even my current workplace. And I would say, in addition to a mentor, it is also important to have a sponsor. So having that right mix of mentorship and sponsorship is very important. And you have to be very mindful that these two are very different roles, although they can be confused at many times. A mentor is somebody who will help you build your skills, who will help you build connections, meet different people. A sponsor is someone who will advocate for you when the right opening or a right position is open that you are really looking for, or that you may be a great fit for, even if you don't see that.
Yes.
So that is a big difference. Yes. Yeah, and I'm really glad that I've had both of those in my, in my life.
Very rightly said. I mean, yes, and this keep brought me to think that how can one get a sponsor? So what is your view on having someone as a sponsor? As you said, that it's also quite important. So how can someone get that help, wherein if there is an opportunity, if there is somewhere that you see that your friend or your colleague can fit in very well and you could just vouch out for them, how can you become a sponsor for them? How can you find one, and how can you be a sponsor?
That's a really great question, Amina. First of all, before finding a sponsor, I think the important thing is first knowing what you want. Okay. Once you know what you want, you have the once you know what you want, you can look out for what kind of sponsorship that you need. Let's say you want to grow as a people leader in a particular domain, right? And you know that this is something that you want, and this is something that you have worked very hard to building that skill set. Now it is a matter of finding that opportunity. How do you find a sponsor? Typically, a sponsor is someone that you would that would be in your organization or the organization that you're looking to fit into, right? It is one of the people in those organization hierarchy somewhere in the line, or somebody who has influence on that organization, like somebody who's a decision maker or an influencer on that decision making. It can be in that organization, or it could be somewhere outside in another organization as well, right? So, but all of that you can build through networking, through building connections. So sometimes a sponsor, a mentor can also be a sponsor, but that is not necessarily always true. It's not needed. That it doesn't mean just because you're a mentor that the person will also be a sponsor.
Yeah.
But for finding sponsorship, it takes a little bit of connection building to find the right network in the right places. And for that, the pre-work is knowing where you want to be and building those right connections.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, this is a great point. I know few sponsors who have always been very supportive into helping me out with my initiatives and everything. And so I know that, this is a sponsor and this is my mentor. But it's good to know that we need to have balance of both so that we can reach out to both of them wherever needed. Well, moving on from mentorship, sponsorship, going to leadership now. So I've seen that, as we grow in our careers and we move from individual contributors to leadership, and leaders are not someone who are born, but they are made. They also practice, they also learn from different challenges that they go through. And that is how leaders are made, basically. When they enter into an organization, everything is different for them. And I've seen while talking to different people that, leaders have more responsibilities as compared to individual contributors, because they are taking the whole team together and looking at their work as well as doing their own work. So according to you, how can one become a successful leader? What are the different metrics, or how do you see someone becoming a successful leader in their role?
You talked about responsibility and accountability. Those are really two key aspects of leadership. In addition to being an enabler for the team, you're responsible for your team. You're responsible for the deliverable of what your team is working on, and you are the one who's accountable. The buck stops at you, for the external world. So this is my personal view, so I'm just going to put a disclaimer on that.
Yes.
But I think most women are nurturers, and as you said, right, traditionally we've been seen as homemakers. What that means to me is it is shouldering responsibility of running a household, not just a kitchen or not just caring for just your loved ones, but keeping the whole house together. And so these characteristics are naturally conducive to traits such as responsibility and accountability that is expected of a leader. So in a way, I think women are natural leaders. And women do take a lot on themselves as a leaders. So it is important to just make sure that you have that right balance in life when you are taking on the responsibility. So as a leader, right, some of the things that you have to be very mindful of is delegation, negotiation, and sharing. So you cannot do everything as a leader. Even though you think that you can do everything, you cannot multitask. You have to be able to delegate effectively to be able to work smartly. And that is really important as a leader, to be able to identify who is the best fit for the role, who is who has the ability to grow into. So, nurture the careers to grow their careers.
Yes.
So identifying those different areas is very critical as a leader, and building the right team. There's a great book called Good to Great, and it talks about level 5 leadership, and it talks about bringing the right people on the bus before deciding where to go. And so as a leader, you have to be able to find the right team to know that once you have the right people on board, you will be able to take the bus in the direction that you want to.
Amazing. Very nicely said. Oh, that's great. You need to have a bus which has the right team so that you can be the driver of the bus. That's very, very nicely said. So, and I see that you have just moved into a new company with a new role. And was it difficult or easier for you to settle into this role during the COVID times? And if not, what are the few tweaks that you made to ease into your role?
Yeah, just like so many of us, I also found myself suddenly in this COVID mix, right? So when you're talking about easing into a role, it was a dual role, right? Like easing into the role of a full-time homemaker and also a full-time office worker, right? So like both of those. So it seemed like you're playing a double duty all the time. It took a while, but thankfully my kids are very independent. So like I said, being able to effectively delegate is very important.
Yes.
So knowing when to delegate what tasks to your kids, or setting the boundaries about, how to approach when you're conducting a meeting, how the kids, it totally depends upon the age of the kids also. So, you can't tell that to a toddler or a 5-year-old, do not enter the meeting room. But it was a little bit easier as my kids are a little older than that. So, but it did take time to adjust to that. Like my kids lost the password for their online learning tool, and suddenly I had to stop my meeting to go address that. So you have to be very accepting of that. And through the pandemic, something that I've realized and something I'm really happy about is that everybody else around you was in the same situation, right? So everybody was accepting about those facts and about those interrupts, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's a few things that helped was definitely acknowledging upfront and setting those expectations with the people as you get into meetings or as you get into a work time that there may be interruptions. Just a small acknowledgement sometimes helps. It just puts that in people's mind. Okay, what, if something like this happens, it's very natural, even if people were not aware of it earlier or were not used to it before. But additionally, some of the key things that helped me were prioritization. How do you prioritize work? And again, I'll give you a reference to one of my favorite books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and it talks about a prioritization magic quadrant. So evaluating any thought or action through that framework was really, really helpful. So identifying what is important and urgent, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and not important and not urgent. So figuring out what to focus on first was something that really helped. So if you can focus on important but not urgent, it will slowly reduce your burden on important and urgent. Take care of the things that are important, but you feel that they can wait. Sometimes they can't really wait. You should just pay attention to those, because otherwise they can become those urgencies.
Yes.
And health is a very good example of that, right? So sometimes the health takes a backseat, and suddenly one day it becomes important and urgent.
Yes.
Right. And that's where I know it's easier said than done. But so for me personally, also, even though I know about all of this, it is very hard to apply that to each and every case. But in addition to that, just having a plan A and then having a plan B was really important as I eased into the new role. So I accepted this job at a company, and I onboarded all virtually, right, during this pandemic. So having a plan A and a plan B for just understanding how my first 90 days are going to work out was important, and communicating it to my leaders and my team about, here is a journey that we're going on together, and you would be helping me be successful. It really helped because they became a part of my success journey.
Yeah, and you reflected on a very critical point here that make your health important for yourself. Don't wait for it to become urgent for you. So a very important message for our listeners here, that stick to a diet or stick to your workout plan, so that it's important as well to look after yourself and your health at the same time when you're working or having your own managing your home. So coming back to this point, is there anything that you would like to change from your past 2 years and reflect on it in the future?
Actually, you talked about two major things here. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the things that worked for me in terms of health, right? And it's not perfect. Because pandemic was not easy on me during on my health as well. But tuning out of work and tuning into life is really important. Traditionally, when you go to work and then you have a little bit of a commute and then you come home, that commute becomes that point of separation from your work life, between your work life and your home life. With this work from home, you are at least in my case, I was always mentally in that same space. I never was able to come out of that work mindset into my life mindset. So I had to make those very conscious decisions about tuning out of work and tuning into life. So like making sure that I have a do not disturb snooze or notifications outside of work. If it can't wait, you can call me. You don't have to, I don't have to pay attention to each and every Slack message or each and every email that is coming my way. So that's where, a do not disturb snooze definitely helped. And, just making sure that you're taking small breaks more often is important. Even if that while you're taking the small break, you want to multitask and maybe, just
go for
work on your garden or like do something in the kitchen, or just take a short walk. That's up to you, but take those small breaks, and that's really important. Sometimes it's very easy to schedule one meeting after the other, and can just go on without you even getting up from your seat. Especially when you get into the people leadership, where most of your time is involved in meeting other people, connecting with different people, it can become very challenging. And then you talked about a very important other point about, if I were to reflect on the points and what could I change? I think that's a very important question, because that has something that has impacted me quite a bit, and something that I reflected on really for a long, long time. So just like many women, I made the assumptions that my career growth will come if I work hard enough and I will get noticed. But that's not necessarily true. People have that mindset of complacency. If things are working, why change? So you have to be in the driver's seat for your own career. If you want to go somewhere, you have to drive there. You cannot expect a bus will come along to take you and go there. Although, I'm not sure if that's a great analogy, because I love public transportation rather than having to drive myself. But in this case, it was, just applicable that you have to take charge is what I meant.
Yes.
But you have to create a plan for building that career path, and you have to reach out to your stakeholders or people leaders in this case to execute on that. What do you need and how can you get there? Help me. If not, then direct me on who can help me there, or figure out, take charge of your career path. I personally waited for way too long. And so that's where I felt that, I should have done something much sooner than.
How does someone, sorry to interrupt you, but how does someone know, and how, being a woman, we want to be perfect in all the aspects of life. Like for me, I want to be perfect with helping my kid to study, with helping with them, if they need some help with their education, I want to give them 100% so that they can become better leaders, they can become better innovators. And at the same time, I want to give 100% of myself to work and want to see myself getting that perfection. But I've seen that leaders are also someone who are not perfect, right? They are also growing. But as a woman, or as someone, as an individual contributor, how can someone know that this is the right time to shift your focus into becoming, to getting more responsibilities or moving up the ladder?
One good measure is to feel whether you are getting complacent, or you're getting bored with what you're doing, or or the things or work that you're doing is becoming very easy. If you get into that state, you know that you need to grow, right? And that's where that growth aspiration kicks in typically. So be mindful of when your work starts becoming easy. And that's where you need to start challenging yourself. You brought up a very important point about, or a very important example about wanting to help your kids, but also wanting to grow your career at the same time. So here is how I see it. This is completely my perspective. Life is not a direct current. It is an alternating current, right? So you have to, it has its ebbs and flows. So you have to go with it. At times, there will be situations where, your kids need more attention, or your life needs more attention. And there will be at times where, once you've solved a certain area, you can focus more attention on the other area. Give yourself that time, but also let your leaders know that you need that time and these are your priorities. As long as you are ready to take on both, you'll be surprised how much support you'll find. So that's where, it is important to ask for it. Don't assume, just ask for it, but know where you can be most effective at any given time, or what needs your more attention. Pay more attention to that, and then come back and focus on some other things. So give yourself that room to grow in areas, in time slicing, not multitasking. So that's a terminology that I like to use a lot. Like a lot of people say that women can multitask. In my opinion, at least in my case, I don't think I can multitask, but I can time slice. So, it's like, give a slice of your time to certain thing, do it well, then allocate the time slice to the next thing, and do that well. That's kind of, iterative growth, both in personal and as well as professional life. But yeah, many women, they do face this, and I would like to leave this thought about imposter syndrome. So women do feel that I'm not fit for doing this because I have, and sometimes they find reason to justify that. Okay, you know what? I have so much work at my so much going in my personal life that I cannot focus on my work, so I'm not ready for this, and it becomes a cycle. So you have to be very mindful about that imposter syndrome and get yourself out of it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think imposter syndrome is something that you have to carry with yourself for some time until your fear becomes your friend, and you do that friendship with that fear and say, I'm not afraid of you. You are my friend, and I will let you. I will go along with you, but I will not let you take control over me. So
Absolutely. You said that very well, because that is my philosophy as well. What I always tell my mentees is imposter syndrome is good in very small doses, because it keeps you on your feet. Because of that imposter syndrome, you want to you're better prepared than others in the meeting or in the room, right? And this is a really interesting thought that I had about this whole imposter syndrome, and people about, imposter syndrome is really bad. And I completely agree with that. Imposter syndrome is something that women should be kind of shedding. But I would like to highlight that whether you call it imposter syndrome or that need to be prepared, you have to, that helps you be the best prepared person in the room. But having said that, then the next step is to making sure that you voice your opinions, right? And very recently, there was this article floating around or actually a talk by Lily Singh about building your own table. And that is absolutely awesome to see how we are in our thought and in our mindset, we are progressing from bringing women to the room to making them get a seat at the table, to progressing to building your own tables. That is really impressive progression. And that is what is needed. You don't have to find a seat at the table anymore. You have the capacity to build the table for yourself and for others. And be the leader and be in that leading position.
Yes. Yes. And we were talking about it before this recording, and it was an absolute, and when I see and listen to these stories wherein, people have created their own, women have tried to build their own tables and have their own tables where they feel accepted, where they feel that they are the charge of the table, instead of bringing the seat where the table may not, people do not accept you. So it's good to have a room where people accept you, and also a table where you feel accepted. And then you can grow within that room and you have a proper seat at the table as well. So definitely. And thanks, Sheetal. I think I've learned so much during this conversation about how you grow into the role in tech, and how you are supporting other women in technology and helping others to grow as a leader, as an enabler, and also learned about, how a woman can befriend the fears and do not have to multitask. You can just time slice. So what are so important and amazing points that we learned from you, and thanks a lot for sharing your views and perspectives with us. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Amina. You yourself are such an accomplished leader and such an accomplished mom. So you know what it is to play those multiple hats and be very successful at everything that you do. And you yourself bring so much value to empowering women in cybersecurity and encouraging women in cybersecurity. So I really applaud your efforts and really appreciate you asking me to join you in this show. It was my pleasure and honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Living and Breathing Technology Podcast with Amina Aggarwal. If you learned something new and this podcast made you think, then share itspmagazine.com with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our podcast channels. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.